it sounds to me, with the 30 counter protesters that you had,
Right.
the messaging that I had seen on the Facebook groups, and I'm just here to cover this from both sides, but the messaging, I joined both groups. The messaging I was seeing on their side of the thing was that this protest, the one you've organized here, was a hateful protest full of bigots and people that wanted to basically create a genocide against trans people. What I've seen here today, in an unbiased view, is the exact opposite of that. In fact, I haven't seen any messaging that's anti-LGBTQ. I haven't even heard LGBTQ mentioned at all in this protest. All I've heard is protect children. So, in sense, what are they even protesting? Because it doesn't seem like you guys are anti-LGBTQ anything.
Well, my understanding is since the unions in Ontario got involved, there's a lot of racist rhetoric, a lot of anti-LGBT rhetoric coming from the unions, trying to make parents look bad. And the situation we have in our country is that when unions and other major institutions are against everyday responsible citizens, we've got a major issue in this country. And all we want is we just want people to be truthful. And like you noted, this was not an anti-trans rally. So why are people presenting it as such? Can't they be truthful and honest about what are concerning parents today?
Well, my thought process would be the people who were counter-protesting this protest are essentially counter-protesting protection of children. And that's a really weird thing to protest against, would be the protection of children. And so what I would say to all of them, and I tried, but they didn't want to talk, what I would say is they should be on our side. Because you know what? I support trans people. I support LGBTQ people, adults. I do not support putting this into children. And that is kind of where my thing goes. I want to support them and support their life and let them be. Because my whole message is every human should be who they want to be and love themselves for who they are, whether you're trans or not. Yes. But when we are all against each other, it's hard to make progress. But seeing 1,000 people or more here, all different races, cultures, and backgrounds, that I know it makes me feel a little emotional to know that there's all these people who care deeply, especially when I saw 0 ounces of hate. So you must be pretty happy with the way this went.
We're very happy. The people of Alberta are amazing, and the vast majority of people are not anti-trans. They're not racist. And it's just bad messaging from our opponents who want to make the average everyday Albertan look really, really bad.
Well, it's really easy to diminish an entire side when you label them as racist, bigots, and hateful people. And the reality is we do live in a society where there are actual racists and transphobes and homophobes that will cause violence. But those people, in my opinion, are just laughing in the shadows, because when you label everyone a transphobe and a bigot and anti-LGBTQ, the people that actually could cause harm to your community, who are people that I would fight against because you shouldn't cause harm to any community, they get to hide in the shadows. And then they don't get noticed. And that is a problem that we're dealing in our society today.
We really need to figure out what unites us as a people, right? Even though we have different expressions of faith and we come from different nationalities, there are core values that all of us have, and how we want our families to be, how we want our province to be, how we want our nation to be. And we need to understand what those values are and then start acting on them to make our country strong.
Would you agree with me to end this interview that we want to love everybody all the time, regardless of who they are, what they believe in, who they love, who they want to sleep with? But when it comes down to it, this is just about protecting children. But let's be very clear that we, and I'm going to assume you, myself, I support the LGBTQ community as adults. I support their lifestyle, I support their choices, and I do not wish harm upon anybody. This is purely one message. Let's protect our children. Let's get the truth out. When I interviewed one of them on their side, and I said, there are things happening like breast removal of teenagers, and that person said, no, it's not happening. And then I said, well, if you're telling me that it's not happening, what you're actually saying is you think it's wrong, so your only excuse is it's not happening. So then I showed him a picture of it happening, and then of course he switched his mind and said, well, that's between the doctor. And so it's a messaging. We have to come together. Let's end with a fact that we love everybody, we support the LGBTQ, and let's make that really clear with this.
I've got family members who would identify as part of the trans community, and they have their issues that they're having to work through. They're trying to understand what their lives are all about, and I support them in that, and I love them. But we cannot have governments interfering, because the best way for people to grow is within a strong, stable family, and we cannot have the state interfering in that.
And parents have to have the number one rights with kids. It's a very sad society when we have people trying to separate children from their parents. You know what? I don't think it's proper to run around and call everybody on that side a pedophile and a groomer. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's counterintuitive, and I don't think that's the case at all. I think there's pedophiles and groomers in every class of people. I don't think you can limit it to just one, but it is really important what you guys are doing, and the fact that you see all these people out here was. I almost didn't come because of the rain and the cold, and I thought no one was going to come, and I'm like, I'm just going to make my way in here, and I'm so glad I did. And so thank you for what you're doing, and you seem like a really non-hateful person to me.
I try to be as non-hateful as possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.